here. Hi. Hello, hello. Oh, good afternoon. Oh, so happy to see new faces, old faces, familiar names, new names. Welcome.
Hello. If you guys are joining us live, feel free to put in the chat a little intro about yourself, where you are in the world, if you've had your surgery yet, when that was, if you're pre-op, let us know a little bit about yourself. Go ahead and throw that in the chat. We're so glad that you guys are here.
And as you guys are introducing yourself, Natalie and I will introduce ourselves. So maybe I'll start. My name is April Williams. I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy in July of 2019. I have lost and maintained 140 pounds using every single tool I could possibly find out there for my toolbox. Natalie and I are founders of Bari-Nation. We are a patient-created, mission-driven bariatric organization that is really on a mission to connect ourselves and other patients with the tools, resources, and education that we need to find really success along our journeys. So we have a weekly podcast, we have a support community, we're very active on Instagram, but really our sole focus is to connect you and I with all of those things that we really need in our bariatric toolbox to find success. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, please do. We're at Bari.Nation. And if you go onto your favorite podcast player or your YouTube channel and you search Bari-Nation, you'll see us and a beautiful rainbow logo. You can subscribe and listen to the podcast. And the episode that dropped today is actually related 100% to what we're going to talk about today. So before we dive into that, Miss Nat's going to introduce herself.
Yes, thank you for your patience as well as I had to shut my door. Relearning how to live where I'm living. I'm Natalie. I had a VSG, a revision to VSG September of 2020. So I just passed that 3-year mark. I've successfully lost 140 pounds along this journey. And I'm just loving learning every day how to support the community as we can. I know April, Jason, who could not be here today, he and we work really hard all the time to figure out new ways to help support you all on your journeys. And it's just been so much fun to not only seek out support for myself as a bariatric patient, but to also seek out support for all of you guys watching and in the nation and on Instagram, just everywhere. So it's just been really fun, and I'm excited to dive into this topic. As April said, we released an episode all about bariatric grief with Laura Grabo, and these talking points are for sure connected. So when we're done here, you can continue that conversation over on the podcast.
Yep. Excellent. And I'm just reading through all of your introductions. Thank you so much for taking the time to allow us to get to know you a little bit more. I can see there are people on here that are just considering surgery. And I thought I just saw somebody who was like 17 years post-op RNY. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Trish, we could learn a lot from you about you and your journey. So what Brenda and ProCare asked us to talk about today was the emotional changes that we can experience after surgery. And Natalie and I have had our fair share of those. We want to make sure we preference this. What we're going to share today are our true lived patient experiences. We are not medical experts, right? We're not therapists, but we are experts in our own patient experience. So we're going to talk about those changes that we have encountered throughout our bariatric journey. So like I said, I'm 4 years post-op, Natalie's 3 years post-op from her most recent revision. And what we have definitely learned along the way is that these emotional changes continue to happen. And what we are really wrapping our brains around now along our journey is that, right, we hear it all the time, obesity is a disease. It's chronic and it's lifelong. There is no cure. So as our life progresses, so does the disease. But as we encounter new things along our life, we are going to kind of run into the disease as well, right? Our life changes, the disease progresses, it's still there. So just because we have onboarded a treatment of surgery and we've onboarded other treatments, right? So nutrition, right? Our 3 pillars: movement, mindset, metabolic wellness. I'm on a GLP-1 medication, right? We're focusing on so many things. Things happen in our lives, and it is an emotional reaction to something. And oftentimes the disease is right there to meet it. So today, what we're really excited to talk about is really just that, these emotional changes that we can experience after surgery, things that we were not expecting, things that we were kind of expecting, and then how we have moved through them. So if you guys have questions along the way, please, you guys, there is a Q&A button. If you guys go ahead and click that Q&A button, you can drop your question in right there, and then we won't miss it in the chat. We absolutely don't want to, miss anything. So if your question is related to emotional changes, absolutely, we welcome that. And if we have some extra time before our time is up today, we're happy to answer any other questions that you might have about just the bariatric journey in general. So you're welcome to also drop them there in that Q&A box. Okay, I think I did all the logistics.
I just wanted to add too, if you guys are connecting in the chat, that's totally cool. We'll try and monitor as much as we can, but again, I can't stress enough, please try to use that Q&A if you have any questions related to this topic. But if you want to connect, utilize that chat section. It's a great place to connect with each other there.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, as we say in the podcast, let's dive in.
Yeah.
So now maybe if you wouldn't mind explaining to people who are joining us here today, what emotional changes did you experience right after your procedures that maybe you were not expecting or anticipating?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main one is really just how connected I was to food. I really didn't realize even my most recent surgery was my third bariatric surgery. I had the lap band in 2009, had fairly severe complications, and then had a revision to plication that didn't really work. And so I feel like this third time it really hit me because it was the one that worked. And I just did not realize how connected and how much I devoted time to my relationship with food. And I know that's something that we really wanted to touch on, was just like, I really grieved without realizing that I was grieving at the time, but I was really grieving, like, I can't just go to McDonald's 3 times a day. I can't just go to Taco Bell and then eat it in my car and then go and have dinner. Like, I can't do those things on stressful days, or on days that I just feel like doing it. A quick anecdote is just, I was on my pre-op diet. I hadn't even gone through with the surgery yet. And all I wanted was food. And I think I was on the liquid diet at that point. And I think my dad was cooking like ribs or something that smelled just like so good. And I started crying, and I was like, how could he make something that smells so delicious while I'm going through this thing? And then it hit me, like, after the tears and everything, and I was like, why am I so like bent out of shape? Like, he has to eat, and he should eat good food. Why am I so upset about this? But it was really that, like, it hit me then and there that I couldn't eat that thing. And I was stressed, nervous, anxious, getting ready for surgery. I think I had surgery a couple days later. I was heading to have surgery a couple days later. And I just remember feeling so angry and hurt. And that was grief. And no one prepared me for that, that breakup, so to speak. What about you?
Yeah, I almost identical. After I had kind of healed, so my physical recovery was a little bit more impactful than what I thought. I was just in more pain than what I thought I would be, and I wasn't bouncing back the way that I thought I would be either. But I can remember we were living at the lake at the time, and I was sitting on the dock, and I was so sad. I was so depressed. I was so angry, and I felt guilty, like what somebody said in the chat, because I wasn't happy. I was like, I've worked so hard for this. This is what I wanted. Why am I feeling the opposite of happy? And that was when I realized, oh my God, it's because I am breaking up with the longest, most abusive relationship I'd ever been in my life. And that was my relationship with food. right? And it was so instantaneous, that severance of the connection that I had with food was so instantaneous. And I had denied, I had not believed, I did not give credit to the importance of that relationship in my life. And then all of a sudden after surgery, you don't even want to eat food, at least I didn't, and you can't, and you have no other way to move through those feelings and emotions, because very quickly you realize, oh my God, I was eating every time I felt this way, every time I was a little bit in pain, or every time I just had this, I went a little bit above and beyond, right? And it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I want to eat some huge amount of food. What I realized is I was using food throughout the day constantly. One little thing happened, I would go eat a snack, right? I would grab something, right? Or it's like, oh, I'm just going to make a breakfast sandwich. And then 2 hours later, oh, I'm just going to make another sandwich. I was constantly using food as this tool to help me cope with even the little blips, not just the big ones, but the little ones. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was mad and angry and guilty and ashamed of myself that I was even using food in that way, because I swore up and down, nope, I don't have a problem with food. Oh, nope, I absolutely did.
Yeah, you sure about that? That
Yeah,
meme right now, you sure about that?
yeah, right.
Well, I wanted to highlight, someone anonymous asked in the Q&A section, thank you for putting that there. Um, they said they're finding after losing 110 pounds, congratulations, their emotions, possibly hormones, in parentheses, seem way different. Sometimes their feelings are so intense, they're assuming hormone balances can shift with extreme weight loss, question mark. They're going to research that with their doctor, but they wanted to hear our thoughts. First of all, thank you for going to your doctor. That is huge and really important to do. Second, yes, your hormones. Hormones I learned after surgery, because I went through a very similar thing. Oh, sorry, I had a alert on my phone.
Oh, it's the national alert, I bet.
Oh, whoops.
Yes.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that, guys.
Everybody's phone starts going off. That's why it's the national alert. Nothing is wrong on the national level. They're testing the system.
Hearing me.
There it is.
Sorry,
It's a
guys.
national test.
I see that now. This is a test. Lord. Um, okay. Yes, your hormones are going through, okay, everyone's getting it. So we're all being alerted, which is good.
Yeah.
But yes, our hormones are fat soluble. Who would have thought? And so we stored all of our hormones in our fat, and as we are losing them very rapidly, it's flooding our system. And that is what I learned from my doctor. Please speak with your doctor still. Do not take this. I'm not a medical professional, but that's what they told me, which made a lot of sense. I also want to say that like those emotions are exactly what April was just saying. Every little inconvenience or hiccup along your day, you were most likely using food to regulate your emotions and to numb your emotions. And so it's like all of that is true. So I wanted to highlight that and let you know that that's normal to feel so just out of control of your emotions. There's so many factors, hormones, you can't turn to food anymore. You're going through huge life changes. You've lost a massive amount of weight. Like there's so much, and we can't turn to that one thing anymore. We can't turn to that comfort anymore. And so we notice those things a lot more.
Yep. And especially as women, the hormone fluctuations that we can experience on a monthly level, right, are just magnified when we have this extreme weight loss, because like Nat said, as we're releasing that fat, so do we release those hormones. And then as we age, right, we're moving into the perimenopause, the menopause, right, postmenopausal stage. So we have hormones that are all over the map for that as well. And I think the average age for a woman undergoing surgery is 45. right? So we are talking about smack dab in the middle of, right, the one of the largest hormonal shifts that we're going to make in our lifetime, just based on our genetics. And then you add on top of that, right, the hormonal changes that we're experiencing because of rapid weight loss. Right. And this is true for men as well. It's just humans, the hormones are stored in fat. So men or women, you're going to have these larger swings of hormones, which can impact our emotions. And in all the conversations we've had with the amazing bariatric therapists that we interviewed, like Laura Grabo, Tamisha Malone, Tabitha Johnson, Sarah Smith, we often talk about emotional eating. And in all of those conversations, what we have learned from them is that humans eat when they're emotional. And the number one reason that people actually eat food when they're emotional is because of happiness. So please don't think that because you're struggling with the disease of obesity, you are emotionally eating, right, at a different or higher rate. You're not. It's a human coping mechanism. It's not a you thing, right? So we all eat emotionally. We eat for happiness. We eat for sadness. We eat for all of those reasons. It's just sometimes after surgery or before surgery, we realize that we are a little bit more dependent on food as a mechanism to help us move through those emotions. One of the most powerful experiences I ever had was the last diet that I tried before surgery. I called and I made my appointment and then went in and did my orientation spiel and okay, fine. And she said, well, we'd like to start you this day. And I just remember I was like, I won't be able to start then. I'm going on vacation. And she said, well, are you staying, at a house or a hotel or whatever it was? And I was staying on a boat. So full kitchen, right? It was, I had access to make my own food. And she said, oh, so you can start then. And I said, no, I'm on vacation. And she goes, oh, well, are you going on vacation to eat food? And I was like, listen here, right? Like I pulled one of those, oh no, but it was so eye-opening for me. And thank goodness I remained a little bit calm. And thank goodness she also realized that she had hit a nerve with me. But it was in that moment that I realized, oh my God, I had been looking forward for vacation because of the food, because I could eat whatever I wanted. I was going to eat all these things that I never did, right? Like food was the focus of that time together with my family. Very arresting, right? A big emotional experience. And I think after surgery, a lot of us start to realize, oh my gosh, I was looking forward to this event, this moment, this opportunity, not for the people or the memories or the things that you would be doing, but for the food. And that in itself is an emotional awakening, right? Again, just all of these moments in our lives where we realize where food was really playing the dominant role in that relationship when it should have just been like the side dish, as Jason always likes to say.
Absolutely. And there's another great question. You guys keep putting questions in that Q&A box that goes along with this about how did we cope with the grief of food? And I know it wasn't linear for either of us. So April, what was the process like for you, kind of going from realizing maybe that you were grieving, what I know sometimes we talk about transfer addictions a lot in BariNation, in the bariatric community. So sometimes it can go from food to alcohol or shopping or, other things. So I'd love to hear your thoughts first, and then I can fill in my thoughts.
Yeah, awesome question. So this was granted like 5, 6, 7 days. So my first round of this was very soon after surgery. And when I finally put 2 and 2 together that, oh my God, I'm grieving. I, for the first time in a very long time, just sat with my emotions. And when you hear people say, and in the podcast, if you listen or watch, you're going to hear us say like, how do we move through it? When we say move through it, what we actually mean and what the recommendations are is moving through something means that we actually just remain still with our emotions. We name what they are, we describe what they're feeling, and we just be uncomfortable in that moment without turning to anything else. That's what it actually means to move through something. You actually have to be silent and still and really check in with yourself. So that first round, what I did is I turned to journaling. I just wrote down everything that I was thinking up here in my brain. And when I look back on the sentences that I wrote, they kind of don't even make any sense because I was just brain dumping whatever was up here. But that was also when I turned to Instagram. And I started to connect with what I didn't even know existed was the bariatric community then. And that was huge for me. I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm not alone in this. So, being still with my feelings and connecting with some of the people who were maybe going through what I was key. The second round of this came a few months later, and it was when I was starting to use alcohol in a way to help me move through my emotions. And I got frustrated at something. I went to the grocery store. Our new local brewery had a new beer out. I don't like beer. I don't drink beer, but for whatever reason, I saw it and I was like, oh, I'm drinking that. I put it in my cart, came home, sat down. My husband wasn't home from work yet, opened the can of beer and started drinking it. And it didn't taste good, but whatever. I was drinking it, and I was experiencing some emotional turmoil. And my husband walked home, and he's like, "Hey, how are you?" "Oh, fine, whatever." And he goes, "Oh, what are you drinking?" I was like, "Oh, Silver City's new seasonal brew." And he's like, "Oh, well, that's weird." And I was like, "Listen here," right now, like, what's weird? I just, obviously I knew that I was turning to something that wasn't very healthy for me, but I, was feeling called out. And my poor husband was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I just meant it's weird because you don't like beer." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And in that moment, I realized, okay, journaling my feelings, right? Following people on Instagram was not enough. And that was when I actually made the decision that I needed to make some real connections in the bariatric community. And it was when I started to host our virtual bariatric meetups, which eventually turned into what BariNation is today. But it really took me connecting with the experts, having these conversations, actually talking with other patients who were going through exactly what I was going through, right? Coupled with that expert advice, that was how I got through it. So journaling, learning to be still with my thoughts, not biting people's heads off when they make very simple and realistic observations about my behavior, acknowledging that I was using things in a way to help me deal with it, started to learn about emotions, name them, talk about them, and connected in real time with other patients and experts who were going through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, mine was similar. I think mine was just flipped a little bit. I lived alone for the first like chunk of time that I had my surgery, so like post-op. And so I felt like, oh, I have this under control. I'm doing great. I hit a lot of milestones in those first 6 months. And then summer came and it was social time, right? We're all coming out of our hibernations, and I was feeling good. I was over 100 pounds down. Like, I was feeling myself. And I was like, I've got this under control. I can go do all these social things. And I went crazy. Like, I was eating bags of popcorn because I could. I was drinking alcohol because I could. And it was different than food. It felt good. It felt different than it did pre-op. And that summer I hit a stall. Like, I hit a really long stall under a year post-op. And I remember being like, what the hell? Like, what am I doing wrong? Because I was thinking, well, I'm doing so good during the day, and then I'd go out and I'd drink alcohol, or I'd, eat a ton of popcorn when I got home or something. I was reverting to those previous habits. But that was my way of like kind of numbing out and like just coping, I guess, with not being able to eat the amount that I could before. Because for me, food was like a social drug, quote unquote. It was a social thing. Like, oh, if I go out for drinks with the girls, like, I can just eat a ton while I'm there because, like, oh, I haven't eaten all day. Like, I can pass it off. And so that's what I was doing all summer. And then we had the first Bariatric Society retreat that fall. And that was huge for me because I had never really hung out with I had met April and another friend, one time previously, but other than that, it was just me at home, or I was out with my non-bariatric friends. And so when I went to the retreat, I I realized that I had not been doing as well as I thought I had been. And that was kind of the point of which my anger and my grief and my sadness and frustration all kind of just poured out of me, because I didn't realize just how far the other way I had gone. And I was using alcohol. I was using other slighter foods to numb myself out, or to use those as social lubricants. And same as April, it wasn't until I really connected with the bariatric community as a whole, that I thought, maybe I should start tracking my food. Maybe I should, go to Laura Grabo's emotional eating support groups religiously, like maybe I should dive into this. And I was able to dive in a safe environment with people who actually knew what they were talking about, but also had that compassionate nature to kind of say, like you said, April, kind of question me, well, why are you eating this? Or why do you feel like you need to numb out today? And so that was my way of coping at first, was really just like, well, I've got this under control and I've lost all this weight, so it doesn't matter what I do now. And that's just not the case. It is okay though, if you do I want to preface this, it is okay if you turn to slighter foods, if you turn to alcohol, it happens.
Yeah.
The important part is that you know that it's happening, and you, like Laura says, I'm going to quote Laura Grabo, catch it, check it, right? So we see that it's happening, we check it, we say, why is this happening? And then we change it. And that is a key thing that I've learned from Laura. But it's hard. Grieving food is really intense and difficult.
Oh, well, and that was kind of a theme that we really wanted to hit on here today with you all. This grief and these emotional changes, this is not a one and done. This is not something that we can just check off our list and say, oh, okay, well, now I've dealt with, I've grieved my relationship with food. Now I'm done. This is something that we will continue to revisit for the rest of our lives. So it's not an area that is beneficial that we beat ourselves up over, because we're going to continue to move through these things, right? As our life progresses, so does the disease. And these new moments in our life are going to present us with new opportunities to kind of understand our emotions and how we are choosing to move through life. I mean, I've been on this journey 4 years, Nat's been on it for longer, but we are learning something every single day. So it's not like we're perfect and we never do these things. One of the best visuals that Laura Grabo gave us, and we keep saying this because Laura's been on a podcast so many times. She teaches in the Bari-Nation support community. So she leads emotional eating support groups. She leads life and maintenance groups. She leads very beginning groups. She does all kinds of stuff. So we're constantly learning from Laura. But she gave us this visual and she said, look, right now you're using food to get from discomfort to comfort, right? So if we imagine that these are like two ledges, the bridge that I was using before to get from discomfort to comfort was food. Okay. She goes, so if you blow the bridge up and you say, oh, no, never using that again, you do not have a way to get from discomfort to comfort. So what she recommends is, right, like, know that path is always there, right? If you need to really get yourself back to comfort, food can be there for you. You want a different bridge though. You want a different pathway. Yes, I do. So what that means is that when discomfort arises in our life, and we know that food bridge is still there, we're not denying ourselves, right, this ability to move from comfort to discomfort, or to discomfort to comfort with food. We're saying, okay, that's an option. But before I walk that path, I'm going to try journaling. I'm going to do that first. Well, every time you try to cross that bridge, you're actually building this new pathway for yourself. And the more often that you do it, pretty soon you're going to build that new bridge, and it's going to be sturdy and solid. And you're going to find that, oh, I can cross this emotional river right now with journaling. Oh, actually, I can cross it with connecting with a friend. I can cross it by going to a support group or listening to a podcast. the more you take that path, the more well-worn it's going to be. And your default will then be, I'm going to deal with it this way instead of food. So it's not that that bridge is ever going to be gone. It doesn't. But the healthiest way is to ensure that we always have a safe way to help us deal with the things that come our way in life. And the more bridges we build across, right, this river of emotion that we're experiencing, the more easily we are going to be to cross it in ways that are healthy and helpful for us. So when she gave me that and us that, it was like, oh my God, right? Because there are some days where I'm gonna eat Cheetos, right? Like, no, this is just what I'm gonna do. And I'm not gonna beat myself up over it. I'm not gonna feel guilty or shame for it, because that is a viable way to cross this bridge. My goal as a patient is to take that pathway fewer times than not. I want to do that less and less, but I'm not going to feel bad about doing it, because that's just what we as humans do. And like we always say in Bari-Nation, this is the work of weight loss surgery. We go into surgery maybe thinking like, oh, it's just going to be, I'm going to eat less and I'm going to be full and hunger is never going to return. Nope. The work of weight loss surgery is this. It's the conversations that we're having today. It's the things that you're working through here, right? It's the work that you are doing. It's really that mindset work that we have to do each and every day. Right. That's where the work lies. Hi, Brenda. Well, welcome to our support group.
Oh, thanks guys for getting things rolling and started. So I was having camera and microphone issues. These girls I knew would have it covered for me though. So thank you so much. I know that so I don't know where you guys are as far as presenting, if you are still in the midst. I know there's questions and things like that, and maybe you've been kind of connecting with those as time has been going on, because you know this forum really well.
Oh yeah.
We've just been kind of talking and then making sure we bring in some of the questions. I did see 2 questions in there that were asked again by an anonymous attendee. They both are about mental health, and since we're kind of on this topic of doing the mental work, I thought it'd be a good time to ask these questions. So the first one is just, it sounds like this person deals with depression and anxiety pre-op. They're wondering if the mental health aspects will worsen or get better by losing weight. And then another question that is going along with it is, do the emotions get worse with mental health in general? So basically, will losing the weight, will having this surgery improve or hinder our mental health is the question.
Well, we are not mental health providers, and right, the good and the bad part about, I think our answer is going to be, it's yes and no. There could be aspects of your life that are going to improve dramatically. There could be aspects of your life that are going to become extremely difficult. What I have observed and my lived experience as a patient is that my life has not gotten better and it has not gotten easier after surgery. But what surgery did give me is a much larger capacity to deal with these emotional changes and to deal with life. When I was 326 pounds, 90% of my brain's capacity, so the energy that I could pour into my day, was actually consumed by food and the disease of obesity. So I only had 10% of my brain to actually deal with all of these other things that was going on in my life. After surgery, 90% of my brain became available for me, because it wasn't clouded by food. I wasn't weighted down by food. The disease had lifted, right? I just all of a sudden had this ability to think in different ways and much more deeply about what my life was, and to deal with things as they came. So that is my personal experience.
I would agree with that. I also dealt with and still deal with depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And I realized how much I was numbing myself with food in those high anxiety times, during depression bouts, especially during the winter. Winter is really hard for a lot of people. And I had my surgery in September. And so I was, able to eat solid foods come December. And I remember being terrified because I was like, all of my favorite things are solid. You know what I mean? Like, what does this mean? I've graduated the eating plan, and some days my depression and anxiety are super well managed. However, some days I really struggle. Some weeks I really struggle. Some months I struggle. And where the work of weight loss surgery, as we've been saying, as we say all the time in BariNation, is working towards those tools that aid us in those times. So again, going to therapy. I say everyone, not just bariatric patients, I say this to every single person I talk to, everyone should be in therapy. The tools that you gain, I can go from, oh, I feel my anxiety up to my eyebrows. I really want to eat fill in the blank. It was usually McDonald's or Taco Bell. It was like some kind of fast food. And then I can say, well, let's take a walk instead. Let's get that anxious energy out by taking a walk instead. And I walk almost every day with my dog now. But that took 3 years to create those habits, to create those tools, to have in my toolbox. Like we said before as well, I'm not perfect at this. Sometimes I don't have the capacity or the energy to say I'll go for a walk instead of eating. There are some days where I use that old bridge, if we're using that analogy. I will go to the freezer and figure something else out. However, now that I've been working on this for 3 years now, the other bridges are a little bit easier. If I don't have the energy to go for a walk, maybe I'll just go to my room and I'll watch a show instead and cuddle with my dog. Maybe I'll call a friend or text a friend. Maybe I'll see if there's a support group or a live class going on in BariNation. Just having those other tools has been incredible. And I, again, not a medical professional, but if you're worried about that, please talk to your provider. See if you can set up a plan for post-op, and just say, I'm worried about my depression and anxiety spiking, after surgery. They can probably help you with medication plans and everything like that. I'm on medications and I wouldn't have it any other way. So that's my spiel. Brenda, what about you?
I think a lot of the things that you guys said kind of just really resonated. I think for myself, as far as life being easier or harder or, mental health issues, I think it made me more just having a lot more awareness, like after surgery, awareness of what I was doing and how I was doing it, and kind of like just, I want to say empowering myself, because it made me realize what my responsibility was in everything. So, you know, in some ways it probably has for me gotten easier, because I think as we become more aware, we know we take the responsibility on of changing the things ourselves, as opposed to blaming other people for so many things in our lives. So that's been my experience.
Yes. Well, and it's fascinating that the further I get out of surgery, the more I realize how much control I really do have over the things that are maybe tripping me up in life. Whereas before surgery, I thought it was all out of my control. And it's not. It really is not. My thoughts really do impact my behavior, and my behavior it impacts my actions. And it's been very interesting to really learn that. And I'm very much the person that, like, I want to get this done. I'm going to learn all of this. I'm going to check it off. I'm going to, like, no, this journey it's really taught me two things. I'm not a religious person, but I finally understand the concept of faith, having faith that surgery really will work and that this is a tool that I can utilize. And patience. I'm not a very patient person, but man, this journey is teaching me that what patience is and how I can deploy it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that kind of takes me to a question here, and Heather, I don't mind. I hope you don't mind if I ask it, but Heather asked here, basically, did you guys notice a particular period of growth or an aha moment when it comes to pivoting during times of trial? And that patience, right? We say all the time in BariNation, right? We have to pause and pivot. I always forget the pause part, and I just pivot. No. In a time of trial, when things really get difficult for me in any facet of my life, whether it's related to my bariatric journey or not, what I'm really learning is that a pause for me is I need to take a very deep breath, and I need a day. I need a full day for my brain to process what has happened or what I'm feeling, to step back and look at this from a higher perspective, right? To get that really that bird's eye view of what is going on. Because if I instantly pivot and I react, I'm going to make a decision that was not actually the best one for me. But I want to solve a problem. I want to get things done. Like, oh, I got to fix this, so I'm just going to pivot. No. It's pause and pivot. And that pause is really what is proving to be the biggest tool for me, especially when it comes to things that impact my emotions or that is emotional to me.
I would agree. I think for me, the pause is huge. The pause is where we can breathe. First of all, we can take some breaths and just like catch ourselves a little bit. But it's also where we can ask ourselves questions. And the question for me, when my life felt so out of control pre-surgery, I would just say, oh, everything bad just happens to me. Like, it just happens to me. Like, I just thought I was under this cloud, and it was always me, and I was always in the storm, and life was always coming at me, and it was all about me. And after surgery, it took me until very recently to realize, like, no, bad things just happen. Things happen. Life happens. It's not happening to me. It's just happening, and I'm living life. And so when I have to catch those thoughts of like, oh, everything's just happening to me, and say, no, things are happening. So what can we do, right? Like, what are some things that we can do right now? And just personal experience right now, I'm going through very large life transitions. I just packed up my old house, and I moved in with my parents for a little bit. And these are big transitions. I'm entering a new decade of life. I'm not working a traditional job. I mean, my life is really out of control, really. It's blown up quite a bit. And I've found myself saying, what can I do right now? And what I can do right now, and I've talked to April about this, and I've talked a little in BariNation, but you know what I can do? I can have a solid morning routine. I can do that. And so that's my goal for this month. This is my pause. Is I'm pausing, I'm setting up a new routine, one constant every single day that I can do to make sure that I'm not just constantly pivoting in circles and spinning my wheels. And I didn't do that before. I mean, this is, like Heather said, this is a point in my life. This is tumultuous. I've never been here before. And it's really easy, like April said, to just want to just pivot and pivot and pivot and try and do all these things. And you got to slow down. You got to just stop, take a pause, reevaluate. And you might not be able to do the thing that you want to do because that thing might be really big. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? And that tool has really helped shift how I think about these tumultuous times in my life.
Yep. If you guys have, or if you're in the BariNation support community or on Instagram, you've heard me talk about two books right now. One is called The Tools, and one is called Master of Change. But what I have been focusing on, which is exactly what you were saying, Natalie, I am a person, I love to live in the past and in the future. Oh man, I will catastrophize. I will, eye on the prize, and then I will, oh my God, I very rarely actually live here now in the present. And one of those books gave me a line, and I'm paraphrasing at this point, but they basically, their call to action is, you need to fight your way back to the present. And I was like, oh my God, that is so me. And living in the moment, realizing exactly what Nat said, like, okay, what can I do right now in this moment of pain and turmoil and emotional things? The answer that I'm seeking does not live in the future, nor does it live in the past. It lives in the here and now, and fighting my way back to the present to focus on what is truly reality and to try things for this moment, not for the future or not because I did it in the past, is paramount to anything else that I think I've done in the past.
Huge. And I just want to highlight, I was looking in the chat and Kathy, I'm calling you out, Kathy, because it's brilliant. I don't usually use people's names in these, but she said, the pause allows you to choose your response. I guess that's a quote from Viktor Frankl. Pivots are often reactive as opposed to proactive. And these words have been coming up for April and I the last like 8 weeks. And it's so true. That pause really allows you to choose your response. And that is such a power. I've never heard it said that way, but that's exactly what that pause is for. And I'm glad that you said that.
It's from the book and it's right behind. I could probably point to it. I think it's Viktor Frankl's Man Search of Meaning, if that's correct. Yes. Amazing book. And
oh, sorry. People are asking if you could type the names of those 2 books you mentioned in the chat.
Yes, and actually, and I will mute myself. I'm gonna go grab it so I can just show you guys it, and then I'll do the other 2 books too, because that book, and I think I need to preference that book. Viktor Frankl, if I'm correct, he's a was a Holocaust survivor. The book is extremely difficult to read, but extremely powerful for those exact same reasons. Yes, yes,
Awesome.
yes.
Amazing. Okay, April's gonna go get those books to show us, and she'll type those in the chat for you guys. Thank you, Kathy, for bringing that up. I'd never heard it said that way. We have about 8 minutes left. This hour went by so fast. Oh, thanks, April. I'm just making sure. Brenda, do you have anything to add? I know you snuck in here, so I want to make sure that you have space.
I think the only thing I wanted to say just regarding that is I think that the more that we just, I don't want to say ignore emotions, because emotions are really good indicators of where we are. But I think if you can pause, like you were saying, pause, bring yourself back into kind of like a resonance with who you are, as opposed to like letting emotions like be so fleeting, and breathe. It just kind of like brings you back into connecting with that place where you know where your decisions are going to be from a good place. So I love that. And actually we are kind of getting close on time. So I want to kind of get closer. I know there was 2 more questions. I don't know if you guys answered them before we kind of do a closing, or were you guys still in the midst of your of your information that you were sharing?
No.
I know one of them, there's 2 in the Q&A box. Natalie, I don't know if you have access to that, but I'm wondering, have you answered those already, or are those still live questions?
Nope, those are still live. I didn't know how we wanted to include those. We're long-winded in Bari-Nation, and so we haven't gotten some of those ones.
So I'm wondering, like, maybe we can take 1 minute for each one, like make it a short answer. The first one here, I'm going to just say, has anyone experienced a super crazy change in their sex drive? Like mine is insanely high. This is from an anonymous person, and it's kind of scary. And I've heard this question in many different bariatric forums and that type of thing. I'm going to answer first, then I'm going to allow you guys real quickly to answer. I think hormones is a powerful thing. After weight loss surgery, you know, our fat actually, as it redistributes and moves and that type of thing, can definitely affect hormones. Women experience a lot of different things hormonally with either getting pregnant, their periods, hormones can go, this is a great conversation because it goes right in here, but all of those things affect that. So I think it can be extremely normal to experience highs and lows with different things. Anything else you girls want to say about that?
Yeah, I agree with you, Brenda. Personally, I have experienced the same thing. I feel like a lot of things go hand in hand. Yes, it's hormones, but also like I like my body for the first time. It's like I feel good in my skin most of the time. And so I've definitely noticed a change in sex drive in general. And the only thing I would say, because I know this person said that it's a little scary. I agree. It's unnerving for me. I've never experienced life this way. Definitely suggest working with a therapist. Again, I will scream into the void on that. I would also just say the only time I think you should be really scared is if it's getting in the way of your day-to-day life, as with any addiction or hyperfixation. When it's starting to impose on day-to-day life, I think that's when you should like really address it. But if you're like, this is really weird and I don't know how to navigate that, you can look for therapists that specialize in sexuality and things like that, to kind of help you navigate. But I've been there. I definitely have been there.
Mine has not changed, which was actually disappointing for me. I have a very low sex drive, and I was anticipating that it would grow after surgery, and it has not changed. So I'm actually seeking out a new doctor to help me with that, because it just seems odd to me. And I'm in a wonderful relationship and married to somebody that has a very different drive than I do. So right, things to address and talk about in our relationship, and as it relates to my bariatric journey with my doctor.
I think that's a great way to answer that, is because everybody is unique, and like your own body is unique, and how you respond to all of this can be very unique. And I have talked to people. I know Susan says here compulsive behavior can lead to other addictions: sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling. I've heard of all of those. In fact, I met one person on a recent retreat that had every single one of those. She said she went from one addiction to another addiction to another addiction. Her husband stayed with her even through the sex addiction, where she was having relationships outside her marriage. But I think just asking for outside help if you're in that and you feel like it's disrupting your normal life. Otherwise, I mean, if you feel like it's good for your life, obviously, then go to it. But I want to go ahead and kind of change our motion here, and I want to talk a little bit about part of the reason we wanted to have you girls on here, besides your wonderful content, is talking about a partnership that we've recently done. And I don't know if you ladies have talked about this yet or not.
No, we just dove right into the topic, so we were excited to get into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and there's even people wanting to know about BariNation. So this kind of goes right into this too. What I want to share is we've kind of developed a partnership between BariNation and ProCare, and we've been sponsors of BariNation. Actually, this sponsorship of BariNation in a way of keeping things kind of rolling. And I don't know, I mean, how would you describe that, girls? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, ProCare has been a staunch supporter of BariNation really since the very beginning, way back in the day when our little humble podcast was called East to West WLS. ProCare was always in our corner. And when we made a move to kind of a bariatric educational organization, ProCare was there to support us through that as well. So now BariNation is a support community. It's a podcast, it's advocacy. It really is going in this different direction. It was started by Jason, Natalie, and I, right? We were three friends with a dream, and it has now turned into a full-fledged organization. And our mission is to connect patients, to connect you and us with all of these resources that we need to do this work. Because just based on this conversation, I hope you're seeing just how important these conversations, these times together are, right? The expert resources, and just this space to ask these questions and not feel guilty or shame because we're asking them. So when we moved from east to west to become BariNation, ProCare supported us like we've been talking about 100%. So when they launched this Bari Connect program with ProCare, they asked us to be a part of it, and we were thrilled to be invited to partake in it. So because you are just a ProCare fan or a ProCare customer, you can access a 4-week trial of the BariNation membership community. You have 4 full weeks to try out everything that is in that space. So it's a private online digital support community. So no trolls, no algorithms, just a safe place for you to do the work of weight loss surgery. The amazing part about BariNation is we offer over 80 live support events every single month. So if you like this event, there are 80 of these in the BariNation support community. There's support groups that are only led by bariatric therapists. Our classes are taught by licensed professionals and experts. And we have peer hosted meetups that are exactly like this, hosted by our trained peer moderators, where we get to gather. Our support groups are based on the stage that you're at or the thing that you're struggling with. So addiction transfer is something very real in our community. We have a support group led by a therapist who specializes in addiction every single week, and you can join that. You can attend as many as you like as a member. So if you want to go to all 80, knock yourself out. We welcome that. If ProCare is the vitamins that you love, which is the vitamins that we love, and you sign up for a 90-day subscription, so you subscribe to the vitamins, you are going to get that 4-week trial, and you're also going to get a $10 monthly discount on our membership. So right now our month-to-month membership price is $39. If you subscribe to ProCare's vitamins, you're going to get that exact same membership experience for only $29 a month. It's our way to thank you and to thank ProCare for always being in our corner and supporting us.
Yeah. And I will say I see some folks who are just beginning their journey. I'm going to self-promote a little bit. I do lead a pre-op and newly post-op group, and it's every Wednesday. So if you are free this evening, it is 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. This is a great intro to BariNation. For the sole reason of like, you get to connect with other people who are in the pre-op process and who have just had their surgeries. So I just wanted to like self-promote a little bit and say, come join me tonight if you have time.
Yes.
It's
So
a fun
ladies, I want to ask you too, because this kind of goes into it. So I know I'm going to show how they can like log on and see this on our website, but I'm also wanting to make sure we are currently in the process of, updating our website for all this to be included. So if you go to procarenow.com, okay, procarenow.com, you go over to where it says Bari Connected. Underneath that, it says partner programs. And that first one that's listed under there is BariNation. When you click on that, it's going to bring you to a page that actually has all of this kind of talking about what it offers. Basically, you know, the 4-week free trial, and also the BariNation membership for $29 a month if you subscribe to 90-day ProCare Health subscription. Right now, these links are currently not going exactly where we want them to go. So I would suggest, if you're interested in doing this, so emailing our support at ProCare. We've been working on trying to get this going, but we're not quite there. And so my question is, I'm going to go ahead. I'm posting for whatever reason. I'm sorry. Let me stop sharing my screen because it's going in crazy different directions. Is our email address is support@procarenow.com. Again, support@procarenow.com. And ladies, since we don't have this completely set up, if they're wanting to do the 4-month free membership, is there any suggestions you might have with getting them started on that? The one thing that I want to make sure they have access to, if they're doing the partnership between both of us where they get the 90-day subscription and the discounted rate, definitely email the support@procarenow.com. But if they want to get started to listen to Natalie's program tonight, suggestions.
I mean, I am more than happy to send out a one-time link if people are ready and wanting to join this tonight. It'll be like I said, a one-time thing, but I know time is of the essence. So if you email hello@BariNation.com and say that you attended this event today, I will send you a personal link about an hour before it starts. It starts again at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Central or Eastern. So I'm more than happy to do that for you guys.
Yes.
Natalie, thank you. I also just want to say real quickly too, though, based on that, some people may be listening to this as a replay. So if it's still not live on our website and you're wanting to do that, are you willing to do that on a replay as well? Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, we'll say month of October. If you're listening to this during the month of October 2023, feel free to send us an email at hello@BariNation.com and I will send you guys that Zoom link. Because I know how important support is all throughout your journey, but especially pre-op. So just send us an email, hello@BariNation.com. Let us know that you attended live or watched the replay in the month of October 2023, and I'll go ahead and send you a link.
Yeah, well, we could just send you a sign up link for your 4-week trial. It takes about 30 seconds to create your account. You're going to pick a username, upload a wonderful picture of yourself, enter payment information, so that if you would like to continue your membership, it will be seamless, but you'll have 4 weeks to explore the community. We're happy to extend that opportunity to anybody that would like it.
Yes, and I'm hoping within the next week or so, we should have up the bundling package where if you do the 90-day subscription, that you get your BariNation subscription at a lower price too. Instead of $39.29. So save $10 a month.
Yes, that's huge. $120 a year. Ooh, that's a lot of items.
Girl, and let me tell you, I love the ProCare, the chocolate, calcium chocolates so much. They made the move with me. I had 4 bags and they made the move with me because I was like, I'm not leaving these behind. They're too good.
They're good. They're good. Brenda, thank you so much for having us on today. We love and appreciate you and ProCare and everything that you do. And just a very warm thank you to everybody that joined us live today. We know how overwhelming the bariatric life can be. We're living it with you. But hopefully we're serving as kind of a testimony to just how amazing life can be on the lighter side. So I just want to make sure that we thank everybody who's joining us.
Yes, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you, everybody. And girls, thank you so much for getting everything started for me. I owe you a huge, huge, huge thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. And all these wonderful people on our team. So thank you again. And everybody just take care. Have a wonderful evening. Signing off and just wishing everybody a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.